Yeah, I'm hyped. This is my first shift on this, and I must have watched. Well, I've been here for most of the race so far, seeing all these teams progress like phase 1 and finding what was the little walls there, phase 2, and now through the phase 3 prog into sort of Hello World and patch. It's been super exciting so far, and I get the feeling, judging by, I think, and this is my hot take coming into this, I think that Kindred are going to be closer to Neverland than the percentages show. I think whatever comes after Hello World and patch, once they get that resolved, I think it's not going to be easy by any means. It's an ultimate, but I think it's not going to prove as big of a wall, and we might see some progress towards phase 4 coming sooner than we might think.
Oh, okay. All right. What have you been thinking of how this fight has been progressing, the mechanics, the way that the Raiders have been able to adapt to it? What has been the thoughts going on through your mind?
I think I'm loving the fight so far. I think the Omega series is probably one of my favorite raid series in the game as a whole. There's so many cool fights in there, not least, of course, all the different Omega forms themselves. And then seeing it having gone through from sort of Beetle Omega, and you've got, Panther Crater making its return in a chaotic AoE-filled nightmare that it seemed as in P1 that's now just become this really fluid dance through the weaves. In fact, as I say that as Mr. Happy and Kinda Orca doing that exact dance right now, as are King Jeffo's team, and is that Peridot up there as well. I think everybody's there at the same time while I'm talking about the mechanic, which is quite helpful. But yeah, then into the MNF phase, that again, seeing that chaos become sort of this fluid solution of different mechanics going through, sort of from the tank busters into the PlayStation mechanic, as we touched on earlier, and watching the progress the teams have made from sort of running around looking at debuffs, figuring out where to be, to this really almost beautifully choreographed dance to make sure these mechanics.
See it on screen.
We are indeed about to see it, yeah. And seeing that dance unfold is incredible, and then it just allows these teams to build this just crazy consistency, which has been the key to, I think, some of these teams getting the really key parts of progression down, is getting these mechanics done consistently well.
And Eric's, get out.
Wait a second. Flick drank Pilk Wednesday. Right. Yeah. I've got Pilk to drink. Lizzie, have you ever had Pilk?
No. And that's never
that
gonna
needs
happen.
To change.
No.
That needs to change, right, chat?
No.
Like we need to get Lizzie drinking Pilk.
No. And yes, we do have a clip. It's pinned above chat. Just pop out the link, and you can click that. And we do not know how many phases it is. I mean, guys, do you have a more sophisticated, a more educated guess now towards how many phases we are gonna see?
Wow, I've been talking about this a lot with a friend of mine, because I've never actually raided an ultimate myself, but I've got a friend of mine who's raided in a few, and he's not surprised, first of all, that the phase has gone into trios like it has, with all the bosses coming out and firing mechanics at you left, right, and center. He also thinks it could probably be the final phase, but we don't actually know for sure, because the fight's not been super long for an ultimate yet. We're talking, we're about the same length of a regular Savage boss at the moment, so there's still a fair whack to go if we're going to hit that sort of 17-18 minute mark that we were all sort of expecting this fight to last. So there may be another phase. It just depends. He did spot that the phase 5 health bar for Omega M looks a bit beefier than some of the earlier phases, so that might itself be a longer phase, but how long is going to be the question, I think.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think Paul, you do have some experience watching the WoW World first race as well, right? And that is a very stark difference compared to what we have here with Final Fantasy and the blind progression.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very different beast. Sort of the main idea still stays the same. You go in, you figure out what the boss does, you figure out how to resolve that, and then you kill it. The difference being, WoW's got multiple bosses per tier, which means you can have multiple different layouts and multiple different types of mechanics going off. The fights are a lot shorter, and you can stop between each one and reprogress from each fight, whereas 14, you've got one string of bosses. So we're getting to phase 5 now, but if you want to reprogress phase 5, you've got to start again from phase 1. So it's very much a war of attrition going on, as much as it is a war of trying to do these puzzle-solving mechanics, making sure everybody keeps focused and their eyes on the prize, as it were, and making sure that any little mistakes through phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 and onwards, they start to wean those out as they get further and further through the fight.
Fantastic, Paul. And Paul, I think you have something. I think you have a surprise for us. Is that not correct?
Yeah, just a little bit. You might have noticed I have a hood on. There's a reason for that. Yesterday, with that insane hype train that happened right before I went to bed, actually, somebody in the Discord did the maths and all of the adding up and figured out that with that alone, plus the donation we had at the time, we'd surpassed our all-time goal. So we're already way past that now. But I had said earlier on in the week in the chat, and I didn't think anybody saw it, but FlickDrop did, and called me out in the Discord. I said that if we beat that record, I would let my wife dye my hair any color she liked. And we beat that yesterday. Any color she liked. We beat that yesterday. So before we came on air today, that is what's happened.
Paul, chat says purple. The poll says purple.
I have to take my headset off for this, but here we go. Oh,
we got the pilk drinker. Shut up, pilk drinker. Okay. Paul?
Ready for the big reveal? It is.
Oh!
Kind of orangey red.
Yeah.
So was I right?
Red.
There was no red option, so I'd give you that one. Yes, and now they'll resolve these tethers one at a time, so they don't kill each other off, and then they'll start positioning to try and bounce this Dynamis buff around, which you can see happening right there, which they've managed to do. And they had a couple of deaths, but this time they seem to have got it across most of the team. I can't quite tell. Looks like they're, pretty clean through that first set of trios. So now we're going to get the Tank Buster, and then we'll be into the second set. This is an absolutely brilliant pull so far. We'll see Final Omega come in a minute, and I think one of the most difficult things we saw from the last time Kindred got here was just how big Final is, obscuring a lot of the vision that you see across the arena, which is going to be quite difficult when they're trying to coordinate. But they've got more of these PlayStation mechanic tethers coming through right now, and they'll start pre-positioning for these in their nice, comfortable little line there, and we'll get these markers out above their heads as well as they make their move, and see if this movement is going to work out for them now. Then they've crossed all the beams across the middle of the arena, and it's resolved, and they are through it.
Alive.
Everyone is alive
guys.
as well. Yeah, this is a brilliant pull for Kindred then.
Oh boy.
So what is going to come next? They're being knocked back out towards these towers. There's one unsoaked in the back though.
Last one.
That looks very much like one person dead, and it's
What just happened? What's going on there?
Yeah, that's it. Like, every tiny little bit of progression you make, even if it's shaving a percentage health off the boss, or as we saw there, getting through one mechanic cleanly to see the next mechanic with a few more people alive, that can give you crucial bits of information. Having all 8 players knowing who's going to get what buffs and debuffs, who's got what tethers can go where, and who can get knocked back in what direction, for example, there. That's a huge talking point to then sort of try and plan out and process in the minds of all the players and the analysts that they've got with them as well, how they're going to handle that mechanic when they get back there again, and try and solve through it to see what comes next.
These mechanics. But yeah, I guess it's like, luckily, before our shift, there's always the analyst desk, so everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah, and hopefully, kind of Orc will know what's going on, because they've just hit phase 5, and they've got these first sets of tethers going out and ready and pre-positioning to bait these fists where they need them to be as they come in. Everything's looking lovely so far. I'm not sure what the prog point is currently for Kaido Orc. There's so many teams, I kind of lost track of where everybody is with regards to what mechanic in phase 5, but so far it seems all the fists are being baited out to the sides with those laser beams rotating away from everyone. So everybody, as I say that, everybody's dead. And it's like a chain reaction there on that phase. If one person goes down, everything else just starts going off at once, and it becomes just this unrescuable situation.
It's a lot of personal responsibility for this.
Wait, I just realized that I mentioned that clip before of all the meteors being dropped on Omega M. That just happened. Be right back, Chinese New Year. Just did exactly that strategy down in the bottom left. I don't know if anybody saw that, but it looks goofy as hell, and I'm here for it. Yeah, so was that the Paladin Wings coming out just to try and make that AoE a little bit more manageable. As we now get the long and the short tethers coming in, and everyone will pre-position with those, ready for the fists. I love this, by the way, with the fists. Every team positions ever so slightly different. We saw BRB, CNY position a lot more towards the middle of the room for that, whereas most of the other teams go towards the outside in pairs, almost. But it's like staggered pairs. Kind of orc. So they've got the inner two that are more closer to the central part of the room. Position them a little bit closer together. It's really interesting to see these tiny little variations on solutions that all, in theory, should work out exactly the same.
Yeah, I think it's also.
I have no idea how to do this, but sure, I am never going to live this down in my FC. That's for sure. Woo-woo. Yeah. I don't know.
You know what this reminds me of? You
It's your turn now.
I get production have decided it is my turn. I don't know what I'm doing with this.
Just do it.
Yeah,
Just do it. We believe in you.
I'll just do it, and then it's Sam's turn for the.
Yep. For the aura.
How? I apologize, chat. No, no, wait, no, I don't apologize, chat. You brought this on yourselves. Ara.
Where can everyone catch you? Hopefully we'll see you again as well on the next race.
I hope so. Like, this was my first race as well, so I'm fairly certain at this point. I only really got given shifts because I was pestering Lithy before the race started. Like, can I come on? Please?
That's actually,
please.
It is actually what you have to do. To be fair, if you in like the casting world, just keep bothering people.
Bothering people, yeah. But
Yeah.
no, it's been insane fun being on here. It's been a huge shit. Like, I normally do racing games of like cars on a race circuit, not Raiders doing this, but it's been so much fun to be a part of an event like this, and yeah, to have been part of an event that's raised as much money as well. It's been amazing to be a part of. So I absolutely want to be part of the next one if Frosty and Lithy will let me when Savage comes out.
I'll make sure to twist their arms and force you to be on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And until then, you can find me on either my Twitch, which is, I will type in chat. Hello, chat. Where I stream occasionally weekdays, EU times. Usually while my son's at school.